Welcome to the AGF podcast. I'm Brandon, co-owner of the American Grappling Federation and host of today's show. Before I get into today's interview, I'd like to thank our sponsors. First, BJJT's and Just Roll. For the best apparel in jiu-jitsu, check them out on Instagram and Facebook at BJJT's. That's at BJJTEES. Next, we have Easy Flex Mats. For your premier home, gym, or sport mats, go to easyflexmats.com. That's easyflexmats.com. Also, Tanita Scales, the official scales of the NCAA Wrestling Championships and the American Grappling Federation. Never miss weight by going to tanita.com. That's TANITA.com. Last, our 2020 charity, the ALS Association. To learn about donating, events, or volunteering, go to alstexas.org. AGF Podcast Land. I'm here with Will Campuzano in Frisco, Texas. For you non-Texans, that's just 20 minutes north of Dallas. All right. I've known Will for quite a few years now. He's an extensive fighter. Just brand new opened a gym. We'll get to talking about that. He's fought in the UFC, WEC, Legacy title holder, Vale Tudo Japan. Basically can beat us all up. All right. Will, thanks for being on the show.
Nice to see you again, Brandon. So I've actually trained with Brandon for many years. He's got quite a few, some of the top prospects in MMA right now in Texas, especially at the 135 division, which was one of the divisions I used to fight in. And we used to come in. I used to come in when those boys were young. Mm-hmm. They're men now.
Yes. I appreciate that. It was a lot of hard work.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so. You definitely rose to the top. If I were to say something about your fighting style, I would definitely say that you're not boring.
I like to get it. I got an aggressive style.
Flying knees.
I was never the guy. I would rather punch someone out than sit there and try to submit. I was kind of like,
Well, speaking of that, let's start out with a little bit of your martial arts background. How'd you? Introduction, how'd you start?
Surprisingly, so I didn't really have much of a athletic background. I didn't grow up doing sports. I grew up in a single mother home, and she just wasn't there for the evening. She was always working and doing other stuff, and so I was a little bit neglected in that aspect of development. But being young and not really having any direction is not really the best thing for a boy, especially a boy with a lot of, who's goal-oriented. Not that I had the best goals at the time, but I was always trying to work towards something. And at the time, I used to like to fight, except that, I didn't have any access to gyms or anything like that, so I just used to get it on the street. And then by the time I graduated high school, I was actually in college, so this is around I was 19, 20. And I was, for part of the basics, you got to do, some fitness stuff. I was doing a Taekwondo class with Dr. Tom Seaborn, and he used to do professional kickboxing back in the day, and he used to be, he was shredded, just like phenomenal.
Here in Dallas?
No, in Mount Pleasant, Texas.
Okay.
So a small community college. So I started doing the summer program with him, and I recall he was training for the Race Across America, which is, I don't know, from California maybe to the other side, but it's a crazy race. It takes 30 days. It's insane. But he used to work out 8 straight. I used to watch him. He used to work out 6 to 7 hours a day. And so we do our workout, and then and then he usually would go to a gym and start do his lift and stuff, and I would join him, and every day, he never complained. But
was this running and bicycling, or is this a car?
No, it was a Race Across America. It's a cycling event.
Cycling only?
And I think it's a 2-week event.
You're
on 24 hours,
yeah.
Something crazy. But
so it's only cycling.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. Still hard.
Really hard.
Still hard.
Really hard.
Tour to US.
Yeah. And we used to talk shop. Would tell me about your fighting, and I was so intrigued. And so at the time, he introduced me to another student of his, Marcus Lanier. Marcus Lanier at the time was a 3-0 pro lightweight. And we met, he had a little operation going, so he was renting some space out. You know, he's kind of had started like a business, very early concept, and then you know, I joined him. We sparred. He kind of liked my energy, you know, my attitude, and I'm just like, you know, I want to fight, and he's like, you want to fight? Well, you know, there's a smoker in Dallas in 2 weeks. I'm just like, and I'll do it, and then soon after that, like every opportunity I could, every couple weeks, every month for sure, I was coming to DFW and I was getting it with these big boys over here who were much more skilled. A lot of times they were much heavier than me. We used to walk into places and you know, and this was before there was an amateur Texas thing going on. There wasn't no legitimate amateur Texas commission or something like that. Like it wasn't like stated, or you know, they had.
You guys look about the same size.
Exactly. You walk into a room, so it's like you go on the internet, you know, and then a bunch of guys is like, let's meet up on this, you know, so you pick a location, show up, and then you get in a room with 30 guys, and it's like, pick someone about your size. I'm just like, hey, you want to do it?
Yeah.
And then, you know, that's the way it went. Yeah, and then soon after that, I just started fighting amateur. I became the Ring Rulers bantamweight champion. Soon after that, I did an 8-man tournament in Arkansas, in Hot Springs, Arkansas.
Same night?
Same night.
Cool.
I fought 2 undefeated purple belts at the time. This was early. I was maybe 8 months in.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, but I just didn't, you know, I wasn't necessarily the top skilled guy in the event, but I was the more aggressive guy in the event. And I won that 8-man tournament, and then after that, I was like, okay, it's time for me to go pro, and I did.
How many fights do you think you had?
10 on record, but I was doing smokers and fighting as much as I could. I was
Yeah.
fighting every couple weeks, you know, just, yeah. And then I went over to a pro. So from the time I started training to the time I got my WC contract was 3 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and then from WC to UFC, it was 4 years. So within 4 years of sitting on the couch and saying, I want to do this, I got into UFC within 4 years.
Well, take note, people who are aspiring fighters. But and at that time though, WEC was also the only place you could fight at that weight, right? I mean, they didn't have that in the UFC yet.
It was kind of a weird time in my life because it was right when the show Tap Out got started. I don't know if you guys know Tap Out, but Cerrone was in there.
I can't believe you just said that. Are we that old?
Yeah.
You might not know Time Out. It's at
Like,
Walmart now.
I remember they had this one episode, and they had the showcase Uriah Faber. He's such a cool guy, and he was fighting in a casino, and it's like, and Uriah Faber was like the biggest name at the time as far as like smaller guys, and he was making like 11,000, and it was like such a big payout, you know, and I remember, you know, as a career-wise, because I'm like still in college, and I'm like, should I go pro? And I'm just like, you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna go pro. But then everyone was like, but there's no career in it. Like UFC doesn't even have your weight class. Like there's no opportunity for you to do anything. I'm like, I don't care.
What were you going to college for at the time?
Business.
Business?
So, yeah. And then, yeah, it just kind of worked out, and you know, you kind of just stop. You just got to be goal oriented and just kind of, because there was a lot of people who were telling me not to do it, but then I just, you know, followed my own path. Had my first pro fight, and with my first pro check, I moved to Dallas and got myself an apartment with a couple guys, a couple fighters, you know, Nathan Hees, Marcus Lanier.
First pro check.
First pro check.
So you get to get an apartment in
Let's
Dallas.
pack the bags.
That's what
Let's
I'm
move to
talking
Dallas. And then it's like, what are you going to do for your next paycheck? And then I was like, well,
Hopefully it's before the next month's rent's due.
I got to fight someone else. So, yeah, my first 6 months of being a pro, I was fighting every other month. So that's the way I would schedule it, just to keep up with my bills.
It's a thing that, like, I'm sure there's tons of guys that still do it, don't get me wrong, but I feel like that era, I know many guys, you know, obviously, you know, Johnny Bedford, one of the closest guys you and I know together.
Going from check to check.
Yes, dude, yes. And sometimes more than just yourself, there's a family you're providing for, like all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's that era. I know that people still do that now, but I feel like there's a lot more things to fall back on now. People can teach jiu-jitsu, they can teach kickboxing, they can do privates, they can be a personal trainer, they can have a side job, that kind of stuff. But like you said, the organization wasn't quite there overall in the sport.
Not at all. There wasn't any
It was a
opportunity.
ballsy jump.
Even teaching,
know?
teaching out of school, like they weren't paying you. These guys
Yeah.
weren't taking care of you because there was no organization, there was no protocol. Everyone was swinging it. You know, there really wasn't any opportunity to make a living. You know, either way.
Yeah, that's what I'm
It's hard.
saying. It was a ballsy jump to
Yeah,
do
it's hard.
for sure. Like I know a few guys from that quote unquote era where it's just like, wow, you know. Like I even tell people when you know, because I was introduced to martial arts in '96, and so. You know, and then I continued all the way through and went to the military, continued, you know, after the military, all that kind of good stuff. And some people are like, man, why didn't you ever, you know, like fight UFC and I was like, well, there was no, that was not a career.
He was like, here, have $4,000.
Yeah, and I didn't even know about that, but it just in reality, it was like, I thought people like did it for fun as a side hobby sport more than like, hey, this is the only thing that I do, you know?
I would say, you know, it's changed now because there's so much access. And honestly, like I'm here in the suburbs, you know, teaching MMA, teaching your children how to fight.
Yeah.
And, you know, but back in those days, it was more of a knucklehead thing.
Yeah, exactly. Totally.
It really was. Like,
totally.
these
Just dudes who
guys
like to fight.
were knuckleheads.
Yeah.
Like, no one's making any money. Everyone's getting beat up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, for sure. I think it was, that's what I'm saying, like that era. And as an aspiring youngster trying to come up into that, you look at that career more than a person who's 35 and done and falls back on something else or has always had a side job, but like looking at like growing a career, you know, early 2000s and 90s, it's just like, it just wasn't there. It just was like, no, go to college for business. Go to college for business.
Yeah. I'm surprised I made it this far, as much as I've been hitting the head.
There you go, right?
Yeah, I mean, we used to train, you know, and I'm not that old, but I started, like, the training is so refined now. Protocol, you know, you're not sparring hard 2 days a week. I mean, 2 weeks out from fight. But, man, we're fighting, you know, those 3 times a week. You know, that's how you got ready for a fight. You fought. And then, you know, you show up 60%.
I think that's something that has changed in the fight itself, too. I feel like the days, like, for example, here you go. Here, when I was in Hollywood, I went to Legends MMA, which was owned by Boss Rutten and Randy Couture.
Yeah.
Okay, so Boss would have people, you know, puffies, chin guard, and they were fighting.
MMA rounds, let's punch you in the ground, just beat you down.
Fighting, straight fighting, you know what I mean? And he would have practice for like 2 hours.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And now, for example, he came from that era, you know, where you fought, like you're saying, you fought to get ready for a fight, and which you still need to, but now I feel like the touch and go in the game is a lot more there. The dirty boxing is less, the nitty gritty, just you know, get in there and keep fighting. Now everyone's worried about their chin and longevity in the sport, obviously, because it's a career. And I think that the training has changed, but also the fight in the actual sport has changed a little bit because of that. Because people don't get nitty gritty like they're touch and go from a distance a lot more.
And I think that was one of the main components to why I had such a decline. Because there was a moment in my career when I was 25, 26, I just became the Legacy LFA Legacy Fighting Champion. And I was feeling good, unstoppable. I wasn't, you know, I had some injuries, but not career-ending injuries.
Ailments,
yeah. And then within, you know, year and a half, I just hit this big decline. My, you know, spinal problems just starting to flare up, just different things. And I'm just like, I'm still just grinding, hustling, and I'm used to not taking time off, you know, you're still on that same mindset. It's like, I gotta get through this. And, you know, there wasn't any pullout at the time. Like, it was almost like you were a punk to pull out from a fight. You know, you got a broken rib, go fight. Like, don't be a little bitch.
or more so, go fight, tell the doc after so you can claim that medical insurance.
Yeah.
Some people don't know about that part of the game.
It's a little bit different now. Guys pull out left and right, which, you know, it's smart. Honestly, it's the communications there from the fighter to the coach to the manager. There wasn't, you know, and I love my manager at the Brad Barnes, who, you know, I still have a great relationship with him. But I think I was a little bit mismanaged, you know, too. But.
So walk us through your career a little bit. So, I mean, I know that you said you went to, we talked LFA champ, blah, blah, but so you went pro, and then was this like pro local? Did you stay with LFA? Did you just
No.
stay with
So I think you got some guys, you got some really like top of the line prospects, and they fight prospects, guys like Levi Mose. They get tough fights. But that being said, my whole career was full of tough fights. It was test after test after test. So I think by my second pro fight, I was fighting an undefeated guy. That was my first prospect. And then by my fifth fight was my third professional fight. I fought an undefeated, at the time, who was higher skilled, purple belt Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, who was his game was knee bars. And he actually caught me in a knee bar. I thought my leg was going to explode.
That's that feeling.
Yeah, but then he actually got tired or something before my leg broke.
Oh, then you won?
Yeah, and then I knocked him out.
Oh, finish the knee bar, bro. Don't get knocked out.
It's so close. I saw my leg bending. I'm like, oh my god. And then my next fight was really tough. I fought Brian Goldsby, who was an undefeated, 11-0 wrestler, Navy wrestler, and he was 10-4 at the time. A guy that fought at lightweight, came down to featherweight, and then was down at 135. Now, if you guys don't know, I used to walk around at 135 pounds.
Yeah.
So after we weighed in and we fought the next night, he was maybe 152, 53, and I was 135.
Yeah.
And that was a tough fight. Strong wrestler. He suplexed me in the fight like 3 times, I think. Like Fedor style, just like.
Oh,
yeah. It was ugly.
Over the shoulder.
But then my jiu-jitsu came through on that one, and I was able to triangle him. Wrestlers sometimes when they're too like forward leaning heavy, they're too aggressive with that. When they'll fall back, sometimes they get themselves in trouble. Then after that, I went to Houston, fought Tim Snyder, who at the time was one of the top fighters at 135 in Texas, and then I put him out towards the end of the first round.
And these are just random organizations at the time?
Yeah, so the Brian Goldsby was Cage Rulers, and then I went down to Houston, and I already forgot about that event. Actually, that fight, it was interesting. So I fought Tim Snyder. My check bounced.
Oh, wow.
My check bounced, and then and then I ended up a friend of mine reached out to the Texas State Athletic Commission, and they got on it.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I ended up getting paid, and the turnaround was really quick. Because I was on a spot, you're young, I was like 23. I was like, guys, I need this money.
Yeah, for real. That's shady.
Yeah, but they got on it, so I was really happy with that, how that turned out. And then I think I just went over to the UFC after that. The UFC was actually trying to acquire me for the Tim Snyder fight. They were trying to buy my contract, and then the promoter at the time, told a douchebag. Thinking about it now, he was like, held on. He was like, no, you're seeing this through, or I'm gonna suspend you for the year if you don't turn out. And you have at the time I think my WC contract was a $60,000 contract, and then this guy's like a 1 fight contract kind of thing, and he was just it was shitty, I think. Because he should have been responsible. Now is when the UFC wants a guy, they come in, absorb him. There's no, I don't know. You know what I'm saying?
I feel like organizations are proud of, like LFA, for example, was known for a while for having more fighters go to the UFC from there than any other organization at the time, right? And so that's why people flock there.
Yeah.
They want to fight in an organization where they know the UFC's watching, and that organization knows it's not going to beat the UFC.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to. UFC's an 800-pound gorilla. You're just not going to. And so it's prideful to say, hey, my guys from our organization go to the UFC.
Yeah, and then it was just shitty because I think this promoter was like, okay, you're obviously. You're wanted. I want my guy to win because he's my guy, and then hopefully he'll take your spot. But, I'll knock your guy out. So. And
Karma.
Yeah. And then after that, I had my WC debut with Demasio Page, who was really experienced at the time. And then, he kind of ran through me pretty quick. But, my first time I kind of had a little bit of nerves. And then my next fight, I had a fight of the night. And then I got absorbed by the UFC.
Nice. And then you also said you fought in Japan.
Mm-hmm.
Tell us about the experience
Oh,
there.
that was cool too. So, and this is about the time that I was feeling really good at my strongest, and I had the maturity to know what was best for me. So the difference was, so before, I think it was my title defense. I'm not exactly sure when the timeline was, but the UFC had reached out to me to take it wasn't even that short of a notice. It was like 3 weeks notice, 4 weeks notice. And I'm just, or it was like 2 weeks maybe. But, I was just like, no thanks. It's not beneficial to my career because I've done that before. I've taken a lot of short notice fights, and those are the fights that, things didn't pan out because you start the fight kind of tired or whatever. But, yeah, so I had the maturity. I was feeling good. I was like, no, that's not for me. So I kind of, I didn't go with the UFC, and then I went over to Japan instead. So it was pretty cool. And then
Where, did you fight in Tokyo?
fought in Tokyo, fought Hideo Tokoro, who was a superstar in Japan.
Heck yeah.
Very exciting fighter, and it was a barn burner. We had a good showing, and then it was a close fight, actually. I was like, oh, man, I don't know what's going to go, But then Japanese judges are, like, really, really, I would say, honest. Usually in the States, when you go fight in another state, they bring you in, and this happened to my career a lot, because I was always the guy traveling, because, like, I had trouble finding people locally. So they would bring me in to fight the top guy, whatever, different states, and you have to finish.
Yeah.
You just know you have to finish. If it goes to decision, you're not gonna get it. So but that's the risk you take when you want to be on the top. So.
Yep. But the experience of traveling to Japan, how'd you like Japan itself?
Oh, it was great. It's different. Certain aspects, like they're too polite, almost to the point where you're just kind of like almost rude. Yeah. Did you get that?
Did you go on the subways or trains at all?
Yeah, just everywhere.
Totally silent.
Totally silent.
On their
So weird.
phones.
And then
It's a trip.
you're traveling with the other people, different fighters and stuff. One of the fighters offered this like granny like a seat or something, and the granny was like so offended. She was like, "I don't need your help." Like it was kind of totally weird. So. Because in America, someone's granny would have been like, "Oh man, you're such a gentleman." Not in Japan. Yeah.
That's a trip. Yeah, I recently got invited, like I was saying, when we first came in teaching Kuala Lumpur in Malaysia.
Yeah.
So I'm pretty excited to go there. I would love to go to Japan again. Like, that would be the.
It's cool.
Yeah.
I was in the city. I went to Tokyo twice. I'd like to go a little bit in the country and just kind of get a feel, for that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's lots of places I've seen friends go in throughout Japan, and obviously it can be very different in different spots, you know what I mean? And then being ex-military, a lot of Marines I'm ex-Army, but a lot of Marines go to Okinawa, an island, and stuff like that. It's different, but Tokyo itself, is that where Saitama Arena? Was that Saitama Arena?
That wasn't at the Saitama Arena. I forget the name of it was like a big theater, but it was,
Yeah. What a trip, man. So what are some other places that you fought?
Fought in Canada, Edmonton once. Fought Eddie Wineland.
Oh, nice.
So I would say that was a tough fight for me. I would say that was the only tough fight for me in my career. People, when you do something, okay, if you're not good at it, you usually don't continue because you're not being reinforced. So if I was a bad fighter, I don't think I would have stuck along too long, but I was really good. In fact, let me tell you how good I was. No, but I had a tough night, and that was the only fight in my career where I legitimately had a tough night. And I'm just like, okay, got my ass kicked on that one. But, I had other fights where it didn't go my way decision, but it was always, to the judges, and I never felt like
a one-sided fight.
Yeah, it was never a one-sided fight. That was the only fight in my career.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, tough night.
Ouch. Damn Canadians.
Yeah.
That's cool. And so you talked about triangling someone. You talked, martial arts and stuff, and so you went through it pretty quick. I know you've trained over here in DFW. Tell me about some of your martial arts training.
So I got to DFW, and honestly, I came to DFW. I was a young man, and my goal. I'm an MMA fighter through and through. I teach my kids MMA. Brandon knows. I don't know Brandon here for a very long time. Coach Brandon. you know, I'm not in like the jiu-jitsu league. I don't do that. Like, we do MMA. So I came to DFW, and I was just so underwhelmed because it's a big city. It's a lot of different cities, and everyone was so, there wasn't an MMA gym, you know. It was so jiu-jitsu here, boxing there, and it was just so separated. And it was, you know, you think about that, and these guys, I'm here in Texas, and I'm having to go to, like, different schools. I don't have no head coach, and everything's so separated. There's no communication. There's no, you know, like, almost like, you know, not a support network for what I was trying to achieve. And then, you know, I'm fighting guys with, like, everything.
Yeah.
So it's really frustrating because your timing, your coach, like, you have to have a coach.
Were you getting cornered by your training partners and buddies, or did you have coaches coming?
I used to have Johnny Bedford corner me a lot of the times, and I did, honestly, towards the middle of my career, towards like the top of my career, I was training with Johnny Bedford Fitness Fight Factory. So we've been friends for, you know, a very long time with your guys, Levi's. They were young then.
Still young, dude. They're still young. I asked them the other day, I was like, how old are you guys? And it was like 20, 21, 23, 24. Like, no one was over 24. I was like, oh. People don't understand how hard my mat room is sometimes. For me, I'm about to be 38 in a month.
These guys are killers. They're like, guys, we're doing 10 8-minute rounds. I'm just like,
Oh, yeah. And that's usually my fault. I'm the one who says that. But it is tough, man. I'm telling you, even though I am bigger, they're so light and fast and in shape, you know? Even Evan Cuts, like Evan's like, he's like, you know, 170 is the heaviest he'll fight at. You know, he's a 55er, but like I could tell, like as a guy who's not fighting, and I'm around them all, grappling with them all the time, I can tell when you fighters start to cut. And before you get like weak cut, I'm talking like you're okay. We're 8 weeks out, we're 6 weeks out, 4 weeks out,
and smaller,
smaller, but the body gets like a statue. Like there's no more fluff. There's no more. The mentality changes. You know, there's no more like, oh, we're just learning. No, I'm training today to kick someone's ass. And I'm like, wait a minute, I was just here to break a sweat, guys, before I go pick up my kids. You know what I mean? Like, but I could tell the big difference in MMA fighters.
You gotta psych yourself out, like, before, you know, people have different rituals, you know, you gotta like turn it up, but like before I would go to any practice, I'm like, all right, like it's almost like you're training for that fight, so you're on, and you're not gonna be nice.
I could tell in the technique and the training, the mentality, I could tell when guys get closer and closer to that fight. You know, there's a few guys who, you know, you got the quiet ones, you know, the ones that like more introvert, whatever type thing. But then generally, though, I think dudes start to hype themselves up, you know.
And then you got guys who who save it, but then perform really good. You got guys who perform really great in training camp, but then fade out in a fight. So it's interesting, you know, because the performance itself, it's like a separate thing. So you got, training, and then you have the performance, being able to execute, you know, a good game plan.
Yeah. One of my guys, Kevin Aguilar, he's out of my affiliate team.
Oh, I know Kevin. We used to spar back in the day.
Dude, like, and he does great in training, don't get me wrong, but he is, of all the people that I'm connected with, I feel like he's the biggest gamer. Like, he shows up. Like, he's a purple belt, no gi only, right? I mean, maybe he's put a gi on a few times, but, like, in reality, he's not a gi dude. You know what I'm saying? He's in it for the fight game. And he trains with one of my black belts, Derek Krantz, also in the UFC. But
Derek's an animal.
Yeah, dude. But, like, ADCC champs, not champs, but medalists, whatever, NCAA wrestlers, and like Kevin's never wrestled, but they can't keep him down. You know, like he's a gamer. It's like he knocks people out with both hands. Like he's so exciting. But like I've always liked that about certain fighters is the guys who you're just like, what on earth is gonna happen tonight? I felt like you were one of those guys though.
You remember that time? I think it was you, Derek Krantz, and someone. You guys were doing like a team tournament.
Team challenge.
That was team challenge.
Carlos Diego Ferreira.
And then
he just won this weekend.
Yeah,
he beat Anthony Pettis.
So like these guys are like the end of the match is, I think, is Derek. Derek has got everything on the line, and he ends up like, I think it was like a figure four choke or something like that. But he picks up this guy as heavy as he is, and they're like 190 maybe. It just picks him up and like runs him off the mat. Just lifts the guy off the feet and just like, it was so
I
impressive.
think he actually lifted him with a darce.
With the dart, yeah.
With the darce,
It was
not
so
a guillotine.
crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, just brute strength. I was just
If,
like, oh,
if you've ever grappled with
Derek.
Derek Krantz, like anyone in my organization knows that he's hands down should not be as strong as he is for his size. Like his dad's very strong, and Derek does have like a general contracting or carpentry type of business.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So he works with his hands, but it's genetics too. And anyone that grapples with him just goes, whoa. You know what I mean? Like, whoa. I mean, he's smaller than me, and he throws me around.
Yeah, he's strong,
He throws
super
me
strong.
around. Even like playing an X guard or butterfly guard, he just elevates me. Like, you're gonna go over here, you know. So you definitely have to be on your P's and Q's with all that. Yeah.
yeah. And speaking of Kevin Aguilar, man, this is a guy who trains exceptionally well, but on fight night, he really comes through, and you're just like, man, there's just like another level to you. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, that's what I was saying though. I consider you one of those guys. You always not that you didn't train well, but like on fight day, it was always like, what's this guy gonna do?
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
where's
I'm
he
not gonna
flying to?
quit.
What's he hitting him with? You know. And one of the things, even in training, like sometimes you'll leave the mat room and I'll talk to some of my guys and I'll be like, do you notice how when you were getting up, Will hit you 4 times? Like when you were getting up, like, you know, so you were real good at those gray areas.
Yeah, those
The
in-between spots.
Yeah, those
Yeah.
in-between spots, pop, 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 where they have to post and get up, or they have to move here. You can't just ball up. You're going to be balled up, you know, like, so you have to get up somehow, but somehow you're bang, 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 knee,
I would say,
punch,
yeah,
you know?
that's one of the differences. Like,
That's here, though. That's something
yeah,
built in you almost.
because and this is not, you know, but some of the guys I grapple with when I go to Fitness Fight Factory, they're a little bit jiu-jitsu oriented, but not you know, you got guys who actually have a lot of fights, but then like the newer guys who are up and coming and they're thinking one direction, they got one thing in mind, and then that's where they get caught.
Yeah, yeah.
It's a fluid thing, and you have to be able to adapt. And we clinch, some will be kneeing, tripping, just hit a wrestling just to get you off balance, and then punch.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
But do you think that you were taught that, or do you think that's in you? That's the type of fighter you are naturally?
I think I was doing that when I was an amateur. You guys, if you look at my first amateur highlight video, I mean, I was banging. I was throwing guys, like swinging them, like it was like a brawl. Swinging them against the ropes. As they come back, I'm kneeing them. And, you know, I'm like 6 months in.
Yeah, I feel like that. I
there's
feel like
no-
that's natural because you fire that so fast
Yeah.
that it has to be in you're wired with it.
Yeah. I had like 100 street fights, but
Yeah. Wink, wink. Nobody took my lunch
no,
money.
6 months in, guys. No past experience.
No past experience. Yeah, right. That's funny. Yeah, and lighter guys have the opportunity to hit people a lot faster than heavy guys. That's for sure. That's funny. So now we've retired from the UFC.
Yeah, we're
And-
retired all fighting in general.
Campuzano martial arts. Oh, look, there's flying knees. What do you know?
Flying knees.
And so now we opened up here. Well, I shouldn't say we, but you.
Yeah.
And the wife, kids, right?
Adi.
Adi.
My wife, yeah.
Adi. And so you decided to open up this. I know before you opened it, I talked to you about it, and you know you wanted to do your style. And obviously, it's a very particular style. The other room you guys can't see; it's all white. They've got definitely a theme, all very well branded, all that kind of good stuff. Tell me a little bit about your vision with opening it, with what you wanted to do, how it's going right now.
Oh, it's going great. You know, going back, you know, there's not a lot of MMA gyms. There's, you know, the sports has developed, so, you know, you do have more MMA gyms. That being said, I think I just wanted to execute a really like a well-rounded MMA gym. Obviously, you know, when you do so much, you kind of, you know, like we done with my kids program, like we done a lot of wrestling tournaments and we done kickboxing tournaments. I've just kind of picked a couple students and took them to jiu-jitsu tournaments, and they did really well. But you know, they just don't do that much jiu-jitsu. Like they're not doing jiu-jitsu every day. They're only doing jiu-jitsu 1/3 of the time. It's just so in that aspect, like yes, everything's getting developed. The striking, they're sparring, they're boxing, they're doing kicking, and it's just a really robust curriculum. You know, you think, yeah. We do an hour classes. Like we're one of the only programs that does an hour class. A lot of the programs do a 30-minute 30-minute class for kids, like an intro class, but we just have so much to cover. So it's like we're doing, okay, you're doing your ground, you're doing your striking, you may do a little bit of a mix, but even for the little kids, 4 or 5 year olds, we're doing 15 minutes of training just because, we just have a lot to cover. So,
Yeah. So what's your vision for the future? Are we expanding, or are you just trying to grow this one?
We're doing really well. I definitely want to get, I think there's room to grow. I definitely have we have a lot of room to grow. I don't know. We'll see, where we go from here.
How do you feel about having such a mixed program? I know that you said you've taken some kids to do a few different competitions, but like having enough of a specialty in the area to go like kill a jiu-jitsu tournament or go kill a kickboxing tournament, you think the kids can develop really well in those multiple areas like that?
Yeah, I just think it just takes a little bit time. So we just finished our second year. So, my students that have been here the longest with me has been a year and a half. No one's been here longer than a year and a half. So, but that being said, those kids have 8 to 10 kickboxing fights. They probably have like 8, wrestling tournaments with the kids that chose to do wrestling. We're gonna do wrestling again this year.
You have a club out of here?
A club that trains out of here, Frisco Wrestling Club.
Nice.
And then, but that's seasonal. We do that for the freestyle season. Now, my teens are more, adapt to do the grappling tournaments just because it's easier, with a robust curriculum to teach them the complicated stuff. And I'd say jiu-jitsu can get really complicated.
Yeah, for sure. You always did really well on the ground, though. I mean, you hold official jiu-jitsu rank as well.
Yeah.
You've always done really good on the ground, though. Do you still believe in the wrestling part? Obviously, it's not, or is it just a coincidence that they? Because I feel like you never officially wrestled, right?
No,
But
never.
you wrestle really well.
I'm actually one of the best wrestlers I know.
Yeah.
Ask Johnny Bedford.
That's Johnny Bedford. That's funny. But you do it, wall wrestling, everything. I think you do that really well. How did you get that then?
Just a lot of one-on-one training, to be honest. One of my first wrestling coaches was on the Peruvian national team, Joe Morante, and then throughout the years, I've just had many different wrestling coaches, trainers. A lot of one-on-one training. It's funny because, sometimes, like, when I was a fighter, I was always kind of like a leader. So if there was 30 or, like, let's say, like, 15 top fighters, usually you get a room, and that's a pretty thick room, then, if there wasn't a coach there, so someone had to step up and, like, okay, this is what we're doing. This is the curriculum. And then I'd usually step up. I'm just like, guys, I got it. No worries. You guys train. But then, I would also train. So I've never had an issue with
wrestlers.
With wrestlers. Yeah, don't have an issue with wrestlers.
Yeah, but your wrestling can be technical though. Very
technical.
Which is interesting because I see a lot of guys nowadays that can, in MMA, not just pure wrestling only, but especially in MMA, that can hang with wrestlers that didn't wrestle.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it is getting, especially with the wall. The wall is an element that I think, obviously, there's no sprawling against it.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of movement against it. Like, we were talking about Derek Krantz earlier. Derek's like, oh, you're a wrestler? I'm going to pick you up and move you to the wall.
So, yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
he's going to try to get hold of you.
Yeah, but move you to the wall, though.
He's like a gorilla.
Yeah, like if he knows you're a wrestler. And just because that's not an open mat, so it changes the game with mixed martial arts, and
I would say really specializes, it was speaking, MMA gyms, like you got MMA gyms who are jiu-jitsu oriented, like they want to, those guys, they're trying to be jiu-jitsu world champions and MMA fighters at the same time. And then you got, gyms like Hendrik Hoof's gyms, who's, what you're getting wrestling and you're getting striking. The jiu-jitsu is always a little bit
wonky,
yeah. Different themes. I think for our theme is we're heavy strikers, we're heavy wrestlers, and then I would say jiu-jitsu is the third part.
But I mean, either one of those can get you whatever you want.
I mean, and then that being said, that's just like, that's kind of like the culture of the gym, and then you have studs. You have students who just gravitate, and that's what happens. You know, people gravitate, you know, especially the older with adults, you either get a really good striker or a really good grappler. And then, you know, it's really hard to get a guy who's just like really fluid.
Not everybody can be Will.
Off the bat with everything. Would you say that's true?
Yeah, for sure. I
Yeah.
mean, people, you know, are naturally better either at striking or grappling.
It's, you know, yeah. And then you see a lot of top athletes in the UFC now who are just great at everything, which is, it just goes to show where the athleticism just got up to the sports. Because I think more people are not, they're going with MMA instead of doing traditional sports like soccer, volleyball, or ping pong.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like you said you didn't do traditional sports.
I didn't do traditional sports.
Yeah. As a trip. And then
Just bare knuckle.
This bare knuckle. Yeah. That's going down. That's a new sport.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Pretty
it's
exciting.
old sport, but now it's coming back.
Yeah. Johnny Bedford's the bare knuckle champion right
Yes,
now.
he is the champ right now.
So I actually broke my hand sparring Johnny Bedford. I don't know if you guys can see it.
Ooh, that's scarred.
There you go. So he's actually got a pretty big head. Would you say?
Hard head.
And it's like gets bigger at the forehead. and I used to get, you know, so pissed. I'm just like, Johnny, wear a headgear. And
Wear
he's just
headgear.
Like, he's like, I need some cushion. But you know, Johnny, he knows that he's got a pretty solid head. And so when you spar with him, he almost like checks you with his forehead. You know, like he's looking to break your hands. Like it's like he uses that like boxing mentality.
He uses it in your face and grappling too.
Yeah, it's just really hard to deal with because you know
He's made for bare knuckle though.
he's got
I love watching him do the
Yeah.
bare knuckle, dude. And he just toe the line. He can toe the line. What? He just embarrasses people. Like his showmanship there is like, oh god, I would not want to be that other guy.
Yeah.
It make me want to just not do it again. I got embarrassed.
Congratulations to him. I'm very happy for him.
Yeah, he's having fun. You know, it's pretty cool. It's obviously another combat sport. You know, that's pretty fun.
You know, it's just having that ability to adapt. So martial arts is about self-improvement. So, you know, as my career started to wind down, I was like, you know, not necessarily stuck, but it was like, okay, like what's next? You know, what's next? So Johnny, you know, being a MMA fighter, and he was a wrestler, and then had like 50 MMA fights, maybe more. He's had a lot of fights.
Yeah, he's got over 50 fights.
Yeah, when I first met him, I had just turned pro, and he had already had 18 fights, professional fights, something like that. And those are just the fights that were documented.
Yeah, for sure. He's told me he's had a couple barn fights in Ohio before, so like,
Yeah, I believe that. You know, just being.
He's one of those cases though where he's fighting for rent, and at that time a wife and 2 kids and that kind of stuff. Like, got to make rent.
Yeah, he started at lightweights, 155, came down to featherweight, and then
Walking less than 55.
Yeah,
Right.
same thing, and then ended at 135, which was the perfect weight class for him.
Yeah, very interesting. So when did you know that you wanted to open up a gym and be a businessman in the martial arts?
So there was a lot of when you first, obviously it's image, right? So when you're a fighter and that's all you know, and you know, I'm pretty chill now, but when I was a fighter, I wasn't the best guy to be around. I was kind of, you know, I'm just douchey, and you still have a mean mug about me, you know, because you're always in the zone. You're just like. So after that was done, and I had to kind of reinvent myself and let go of that image of like, okay, I'm not trying to be a world beater. What's next? And so I was stuck with the dilemma: do I go back to school, finish that out, or do I do something with the skill sets that I have? Now, you know, I'm very fortunate to have met my wife right before I retired fighting, and she was just, you know, it took a little time, but she was like, why would you go to school when you already have a degree? You're already a badass. Like, you know, don't reinvent the wheel. Like, we have something here that, you know, we can use in business. You know, you either have money coming into something, or, you know, if you don't have money, then you have career skills, right? So being able to transfer your career skills can give you a lot of success, and just So just because you're not making money right now doesn't mean you won't be making money later.
Do you think that your time going to college for business helped?
No.
Wow, that's interesting.
Not at all. Don't
That's
ask
funny.
me about school. Totally
Yeah, I already forgot. I had that too many times. That's funny.
Yeah.
Did you guys build? When I saw this on Facebook and stuff, I thought it was a standalone building at first.
Yeah, it was an overhead shot, a drone. It wasn't actually our picture, so
Oh, okay.
we were just, we kind of took someone else's picture. I think it was the landlord, super cool guy.
Yeah.
That's the other thing with the landlord. He, me and my wife were, hunting to open up a business, and he just kind of made it really easy for us at the time. And I think when you put your energy out there and you ask, again, you have to ask, you have to verbalize it. The universe will put something in front of you, and then it's up to you to take it.
Yeah, there you go. So, what do you like to do outside of this? Do you what got any hobbies or things you like to do with the wife or anything like that that's outside of beating people up?
So right now I'm just coaching and just self-development as far as coaching. When I'm not at the gym, we're thinking of ways how to make this better, because at the end of the day, it's a service industry, and if you're not providing service, then you're gonna stop the growth potential. So, we're developing systems and just trying to be more organized, and do more, do more as a husband, do more as a businessman, and as a mentor for some of these kids, a lot of these kids, and kind of show them the way to be, some of these kids want to fight. So it's like, I have a lot of young guys right now who want to fight, and they do class, and class is cool. It's cool. You do class, but that's, for your typical person. But if you want to be a fighter, they don't understand. It's like, cool, you still got another hour to train.
Yeah.
Not
going home right now.
You're not going home. You get your mouthpiece on. You're sparring. Then you hit the bag, and then you know what I'm saying. So it just doesn't end, and you really have to put the work if you want to see results. You just got to pass on that knowledge, so they can attain their goals.
It's time consuming being a coach.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, eventually that's why when I went all into AGF, I had to choose between being a full-time coach or being full-time AGF. I couldn't quite do both correctly. And it'd be different if AGF was once a month or every other month, but when it's like every weekend.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
it's different. We slow down on the holidays. Like
it's just mind power, because now.
Yeah, you said that earlier. I like that term.
Yeah, you should be thinking about curriculums, thinking about the progression, thinking about like where we're gonna go. Boom, boom. What if this is too much for the student base? What do I need to dial it down? But you're not thinking that. You're thinking, oh, I need you got AGF, you got responsibilities. So now, both businesses are being distracted, and you're not, realizing your full potential.
I still have affiliates and running like my affiliation.
Yeah.
Europe, Trinidad and Tobago, and the Caribbean, and throughout the U.S. And I find that to be okay and easy because I go see them or they come see me, kind of thing. But it's not like 5 classes a day, every single day, that kind of thing, So it's easier to run for me to run the affiliation and still stay connected that way and still grapple on my own. I have the free time to be able to go to a class or teach a class, a few days a week. But owning, running, constantly teaching, completely different animal.
It's a grind.
Yeah, it's a grind for sure. But it is rewarding, outside of just the finances. It is rewarding. And I tell people are like, what is the most one of the rewarding things? It's not always seeing just there's the change in people. You can see that. There's people winning championships. You can do that. But one of my favorite things as a coach that I really like is when somebody has to move away. And we can't keep people forever. They have life circumstances that change. And they hit me up and they're like, hey, I'm living in Houston, or hey, I'm living in New York. Like, where do you go? And you see them start classes over there.
That's awesome.
And you're like, at least I got them. They got the bug. They got the itch, and I passed on the martial arts to them in the sense that they still want to continue. And I was a good ambassador to the martial arts and to the point to where the person liked it enough they want to continue it.
Yeah, that's
one
awesome.
of my favorite things.
You know, and it really comes to doing martial arts. Discipline sounds cheesy, but it really does. It creates discipline. And being married now, I have kids, and it's just you can falter in so many ways, and it's so easy to fall behind as a parent, as a husband, and you just got to keep yourself in check. Checks and balances. And I think for most adults, I'm not going to speak for anyone else, but for me, I have to get a workout in, because if I don't, it's not good for anyone. I'm gonna get cranky.
Male PMS.
Yeah, you just have to. So it's nice when you're able to pass that on to someone else.
And the wife doesn't train?
She trains. She's a beast.
Oh, does she? Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like right now, my lady doesn't. She's on private. She's on some class or whatever, but she's not an avid, like, daily competitor, But at least she doesn't mess with me on it.
Yeah.
She's like, well, it's like, I start to get cranky. Just go to jiu-jitsu. Just go. And I'm like,
Actually,
all right, fine, peace.
I just promoted my wife to a purple belt within our system 2 days ago. So now she's been training with me for 5 years. She has a total of 19 years doing martial arts altogether.
So she is a badass.
She's a badass.
You weren't just saying that for the video.
No.
There you go.
She spars. She's gonna look at this video and make sure I'm setting up.
Yeah, I know, right? I've checked my posture. Come on.
But she's a total badass. She trains, she spars, and she's really turned the corner over the past year. Because being husband and wife, it can get a little bit tricky, and sometimes you get stuck and you don't wanna be coachable, or or you get stuck in concepts, and then but being able to break through that, not just as a coach and a student, but as a husband and wife, and just being, hey, listen, let's move along together. It's been pretty rewarding.
Yeah. Sometimes there's conflict there. No matter how nicely you say it to your significant other, if you're a coach, they just don't receive it.
Yes.
Sometimes it can be. And I have that, also, even with my kids. Like, when we're doing jiu-jitsu, my son is very coachable from me.
Yeah.
And my daughter, wants to yell at me. And I'm like, what are you doing? I just said the same thing to your brother.
Yeah.
All I said was get your underhook. What's the problem here? So sometimes family members, I can tell, they could just naturally, for somehow, all of a sudden we step on the mats and we're magically a different person,
Yeah.
And it's a balance. I've tried coaching from the sidelines. I've tried coaching from the mats and that kind of stuff. So it definitely is different.
Yeah, and then that's what we're here for. We teach martial arts, and a lot of times it is hard to coach your own students. In fact, it's probably not the best thing. You should leave coaching to other people, right? Because it gets personal.
Family members?
No, just it gets personal.
You say coaching your own students.
Coaching your own kids.
Kids.
Sorry.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Maybe the coaching's not so bad, but then you get into the, tournaments and the expectations, and it can be very tricky, because there's a lot of hurt you can do to a child by not, just setting unrealistic
I just think
expectations.
I'm a really good jiu-jitsu coach, though. So
Yeah.
I don't want someone else coach. I mean, actually Johnny Bedford teaches the kids class to the kids, and so he does coach them. Sometimes because I have the affiliates, we'll bounce gyms to go visit other places, and so they'll train like that. We do a lot of privates at the house.
No, I coach my kids. I coach them,
especially when it comes to competition time. But I get what you're saying. I'm not disagreeing with you.
No, but
I totally get what you're saying.
We're different because we have a lot of years in the space, as opposed to some dad who watches baseball and he's like, I'm gonna be your baseball coach.
Get up! While the kids
don't have no athletic background, have never been mentored in sports, but let's get it.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to be a part of it.
Yeah, so there's that. So
yeah, my son started baseball, and that was the one sport.
Does he have a real coach?
Yes, he does.
Was he your neighbor?
He actually got kicked out of Grand Prairie's baseball programs because he won too much.
Oh.
And we totally got lucky. He plays over in Euless, and
that's such a weird thing to do. It's just you're too much of a winner.
They made my son's team move up a level
to older kids.
Yes.
So now you're not gonna win. You're just gonna get crushed.
You never know.
You know what I'm saying?
We almost mercy ruled every game last season. Yeah, so the
nice.
coach is very good. But in truth, though, the coach, I totally respect it because that coach, had them out there doing like drills like college kids, like
Yeah.
doing drills. It wasn't like, okay, we're gonna play, and, you know,
He
like
knew what he was doing.
yeah, you were running a lap around the field if you messed up or talked back, you know, that kind of stuff. But like they do cone drills, they do batting drills, they do all kinds of. He has a lot of equipment. I can tell that he trains them way better than the kids that we played against. Some of the other coaches would get mad. They would, because the first year it was a coach's pitch, and the other coaches would get mad. They would yell and stuff. And it was just like, dang, because our kids knew what to do. They can, at 8 years old, they're turning double plays, you know, and like the other kids are lucky if they throw it in the right direction. You know what I'm saying? Like it'd be like 11.
I'm actually
11
surprised
nothing.
by the athleticism of some 8-year-olds these days. Like they get, you know, they're like little adults.
Yeah.
You know, they don't have the size and power, but I can see it.
Yeah, some of them knock out 50 push-ups. Some
Yeah.
of them can, yeah. It's a trip. All right, man. Well, I think it's about time to wrap it up. It was great having you.
Yeah, absolutely.
You got any handles, .coms, Instagram, anything like that you want to shout out to?
Yeah, give us a follow on Instagram, Campuzano Mixed Martial Arts, and our other business, Dedicated Office Solutions, where every call is important when you're dedicated.
Well, you had that little slogan down. I like that. I like that. My man. All right. Good seeing you. Thanks for the tacos and coffee. We'll see you guys later.